Alright guys, today project we're going to be milling up some 4x6s out of these ash logs that I have here. I'm starting a new project, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one up here first, and then after I get this one cut up we'll talk about the project that I'm starting. And in addition to that, I'm going to show you how I set up these small logs to cut 4x6s. Let's get started. Alright guys, you can see there's my first 4x6, pretty quick. The one end here was tapered quite a bit more. The pith on it was definitely not in the center of the log on this end. On the other end it was. So anyways guys, what I wanted to show you now is, or talk about is, first of all, why am I cutting some 4x6s. Starting a new project, and the project is actually to do with the sawmill here, and what I'm doing is I'm creating a new base for my sawmill. As you see, I have it here going this way. What I want to do is I want to turn it over here, and I want my sawmill to run this way. So what I've decided, instead of using the old concrete base, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a wooden base out of 4x6s, and I'm going to be using ash on the top part, and I'm going to be using cedar for the post. So what I wanted to show you as well is how I set up the logs, these small ash logs, in order to cut them up to the size that I want. Because they are small, what I'm going to show you over here, if you come with me, come on this side here guys, and you can see here what I've done is that I've marked all the different, on the small ends, what I've done is, so far I cut the logs 6 inches longer than what I would normally want for my final length. So that I've got 3 inches on each side to play with, and that's because they do crack up a little bit, so get rid of some of the checking. The next thing I do is, after I cut them to 6 inches longer than what I'm going to be cutting them, the final cut will be, is that I mark the 4x6 on here. And what I'm going to show you is how I do this. Okay guys, the way I do this is I created a block. This block of wood here is 6 inches wide and 4 inches tall. And I have an awl, and I just put the awl through. And what I do is I take the point here and I put it into the center where the pith is. And then I just take my mallet, I bump it in. You can see here, this is my 4x6 block. And then all I do is I mark around it. Now, I just don't go quickly and mark around it. What I have to do is I line this block up to the best spot where I'm going to catch as much of the wood I'm going to get. So it could be on this angle, or it could be over here on this angle, or it could be here. Also, this block is set up as a 2x6 as well. So I can either do 4x6 or 2x6. So in this case, I would just put it here. And as you can see, it's my 2x6 block. Put the awl in, and then I would put it in here in the center. And you can see what I've done is that I've created, I can either put it into the center, or I can put it on the side and try to find where I can get the most wood out of. Now I'm doing this on the small ends only. I don't do this on the big end. So, and you can see here I've got 2 blue and 1 red, and the reason why I've done that is just to kind of show you where I'm coming. This one here, the blue one, was coming through the pith. I didn't like it. This one's coming underneath the pith, so that's kind of where I'm going to go in that direction. So it just allows me to maximize the use of my wood by using this little jig. You can create some different size blocks, whatever size that you're going to need. This is really helpful. So when I put this on the mill, is that I don't have to use the scale. I just go and cut on those lines, or just above the line rather, and that gives me everything that I want. So it's a quick way to get it set up and to get the most out of my logs for what I'm doing anyways. So guys, when I set up my small logs, as you've seen, I first go to the log, I cut it to the length that I want, 6 inches, just above 6 inches longer than what the final cut will be when I'm using the finished product. And then what I do is I trace on with my jig, I trace on where I'm going to cut. And after that I put the log on here, and then what I do is always the small end facing the head of the mill, butt in at the back. And what I do is I measure the pith from the center down to the board that I have here, and the boards on each, and I do it on each end, and the boards are exactly the same thickness, and they're sitting on the rail at the same place. So that allows me to bring my front end up all the time to be parallel with the back end of the log. And what I'm using is this toe board here that slides in and out, and I just raise using the mechanism here, I just raise it to the height so that the pith in here in the front is at the same height as the pith in the back. And then what I do is I lock it in here with the clamp, and then I just cut my log, turn it 180, and then do the same process on the other two sides. So that's basically how I set up my logs to cut. Alright guys, you can see here I've got my 4x6s all done. I've got 7 of them, and the reason why I've got 7, I only need 6, but I cut an extra one because they're going to sit and they're going to dry a little bit, and if one of them gets kind of crappy or whatever, then I have the spare one to replace it with. One thing I want to mention as well is that when I mill wood is that I use a lot of water. A lot of guys don't like to use water or whatever, but I use soap and a lot of water. And what it does for me is, you can see the sawdust sticking on to the wood a lot. It causes a lot of extra wiping of the wood, brushing it off, but there's a lot less sawdust floating in the air, so it's not so bad. So anyways, those are my pieces that I've cut now, and this guy looks almost a little, I don't know, looked a little high, but it's not. Now I've got some logs over there that are longer. These are the logs, or these pieces are going to go on top of the post, and they're going to go horizontal, obviously. And then those longer pieces are going to be 2x6s, and they're going to sit on top of these guys. So anyways, if we go over here, you can see I got a nice supply of ash firewood. So maybe the next video might be just cutting all this up and with a chop saw. So anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up. You can always subscribe to my channel by hitting that subscription button down below. Once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Gelling Outdoors.